In a previous video, I summarized the scientific evidence proving that wearing a mask is not risk-free. There are very real dangers. I have no doubt that masks will kill some of the people who wear them. Indeed, there's evidence that people have already died as a result of wearing masks. And yet, despite the very real dangers, and in the absence of any convincing evidence showing that masks are of value, a number of governments have made wearing them compulsory on public transport and in many public places. Around the world, mask wearing is, or is about to become, compulsory in shops, public buildings, offices, and even schools. Are the politicians entirely stupid and reckless with the lives of their citizens? The bug has been proved to be no more dangerous than the flu bug. But we're never forced to wear masks when there's a flu bug around. The World Health Organization says that asymptomatic transmission is very rare. Or could there be some other reason for forcing us to wear masks? Well, I wouldn't want to argue with you if you said that all politicians are stupid as well as crooked. They've certainly been working very hard to give that impression. But I think what's happening is beyond stupidity. There's a reason for the introduction of laws promoting the wearing of face masks. And the reason has more to do with the fact that politicians are crooks and are being controlled and manipulated by crooks behind the scene than the fact that they're all stupid. Just remember that we know our politicians to be greedy and self-serving. Remember the British MP's expenses scandal? Well-paid men and women claiming for duck houses and packets of biscuits. Politicians everywhere are the professional group most likely to be sent to prison for fraud, embezzlement, telling big lies or stealing. In Britain, the country I know best, there has been a coup. And I suspect the same thing has been happening in many other countries, particularly throughout Europe. I'm not convinced that it's happened in the United States, where the president's aims and objectives seem to be rather different to those of European leaders. But although this is a global problem, it seems to be nowhere as bad as it is in Britain. I'm told reliably that a great many of the rich are planning to leave Britain as soon as they can. We will doubtless be told that they're leaving because of the weather or the raised taxes, the usual stuff. But I'm told they aren't. They are going to emigrate because that they can see that the British are being turned into puppets, into slaves. Comrade Boris and the rest of his rag-bag government can do whatever they like with the country. There is no effective opposition. The emergency bill, which was passed, remember, days after the bug was officially downgraded to flu status, has given Comrade Boris and his advisors the power to do whatever they want. Note the word advisors. It's important, I think. The coup didn't involve soldiers marching to Westminster or to Buckingham Palace, but it was a coup nevertheless, and it did involve soldiers suppressing the people by deliberately taking down internet posts that were considered unacceptable. You may think all this sounds rather paranoid, and 3 months ago I would have thought it was too. But as they keep telling us, nothing is the same, everything has changed forever. The only constancy, the only certainty, is that governments around the world, and in particular in Britain, have consistently and deliberately misled the voters. In future videos, I intend to investigate what I think is behind everything that's happened. I fear it may all be worse than most people had imagined. I aim to try and unravel the complexities of a new world where power and money are the only two driving forces. Once again, I think there has been a coup. Our country has been taken over without our consent, against our will. We are not alone. The same thing has happened elsewhere. Saying this will, I know, immediately label me a subversive and conspiracy theorist. But the real irony is that the people who've taken over our world are really the conspiracy theorists. As I explained in a previous video, a conspiracy theorist is someone who believes in something that the majority don't believe in. And since the majority in Britain no longer believe that our lives are being threatened by a deadly plague-like bug, Boris Johnson's government and its advisers are the conspiracy theorists, as indeed are those in the mainstream media who support them and who've been bought for a few quids worth of advertising. Many are now too afraid to say that they no longer believe in the potency of the bug. But the word is spreading fast, and I believe that those of us who no longer believe the government are in the majority. For weeks the government has taken advantage of the fact that the country has been divided into two. They have used the age-old trick of divide and conquer. But I fear that for their sake, that they're losing that battle. I don't believe that the takeover of our world was fortuitous or serendipitous, and nor do I believe that it was plain opportunism. And so, as Sherlock Holmes might have said, when you have excluded all the possibles, the only thing left is the impossible. The whole thing was planned. And it has, I suspect, been planned for a long time, for years. Bit by bit, our freedom and our privacy have been taken away. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, our rights have disappeared and the state has grown larger and ever more intrusive. I will deal with what I think is happening in future videos, which I'll intersperse with videos on other topics, because it's going to take some time to unearth the truth and to find out what's really going on. But today I want to stick with why they want us to wear masks, when there doesn't seem to be any need to wear them, when there's no medical evidence that they do any good, but there's real evidence that they do harm. The death rate from the bug has fallen considerably in recent weeks. Most of the really vulnerable people have already died. The authorities have successfully cleaned out care homes and exterminated a good chunk of the population receiving pensions. I wonder how much money that has saved the Treasury. Moreover, the lockdown is now killing so many people that even if the number dying from the bug were to double in the next month, the total would still